All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off by saying Kal Halayim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harikak Wadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder Herod as well. Salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth, sincerity, and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. This is gonna be a quick one on this article. Like, on this page, really don't go in deep into breakdowns and things like that. Normally, just read news articles and line them up with prophecy if possible. But like mainly on this page, we do like current events and things like that. That's what we post. But this particular article, it says Israel is increasingly concerned about Iran Russia ties opinion. All right, and this is lining up all the way into Ezekiel 38, which when Putin met up with the leader of Iran, spoke with them and them providing aid to Russia with drones and things like that, things that they needed necessarily to be able to run their operations in their military successfully. Like with the drone, Russia didn't have the capabilities to like shoot off missiles and operate drones at the same time. But with Iran coming with aid with their drones, um, Russia was able to do things like that simultaneously, which really helped them in their war against what they want to call Ukraine, but it's really against a war against NATO and America. All right. Um, so now there's even more increasing concerns um, about the relationship between Iran and Russia. All right. It says Israel is increasingly concerned about the dangerous reapproachment rapprochement between Russia and Iran. Okay. It says that's what Prime Minister Yair Lapid said recently, as quoted in the Jerusalem Post. Okay, it says he was specifically referring to the Iranian drones used by the Russian military in its military operations in Ukraine. Right, that's what I just spoke about. It says Lapid spoke in his country's daily. What was this? Right, his country's daily assessments to reconsider the position on the events in Ukraine. The assessment of the seriousness of the Iranian factor in the war in Ukraine is notable not only in the Israeli case, but also in the case of the Gulf. I think the Gulf of Hormuz or Hormuz, Strait of no, that's the Strait of Hormuz. Hormuz. Well, all right, it says in the latter case, there are many common elements of Israeli concern, especially regarding the growth of Iranian influence and the prospect of an Iranian-Russian alliance of interest. We we are well aware that the Israeli side has vital overlapping calculations regarding its position on Ukraine. It has important motives for accurately analyzing its steps in this regard. But that does not negate the fact that at the same time, it was valid concerns about Iranian intervention in the war, Lapid said. Russia's delivery of drones is further evidence that at a return of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal is unworkable. Iran's assertion of its military capabilities increases the regime's boldness and makes its foreign policy more aggressive. So now there's a fear that Russia will aid in increasing um, the capabilities of Iran having nuclear weapons. And what was it? Shit, 2017 um when Trump refused to renegotiate the Iranian nuclear deal that once was imposed by Barack Obama, if I'm not mistaken. It says this situation of the Iranian regime, mainly many years ago, is not what it is now. The the implicit doculacy of the United States when it invaded Iraq in 2003, fearing that it would finish its job in Iran, is no longer so. Today, it finds that a major power like Russia, a drone industry leader, is asking for the same planes to bolster its conflict positions. All right, because that's a picture of the drones that are being used. It says this is happening regardless of any justification or motive that some might say. But the motive is everybody's tired of America and their bullshit. So everybody, you know what I'm saying, taking their guns out of their holsters, ready to fire at this place, man. But everything is being done strategically, not out of emotions. Everybody's coming up against America strategically. So there's another article that I want to read. I'll probably do a lesson on it later on that talks about China telling these other nations they better be focused on their economical welfare and building of their each the global economy of all these other nations need to worry about that instead of making Asia Pacific a backyard for military drills. So they're telling China's telling people that they need to focus on reconstructing their economy after the pandemic versus trying to build themselves for war because Chinese economy has already been rebuilt. So now they're the only ones that really gonna have money to really go to war. Now these other countries like Iran, the OPEC nations, they got money to go to war. So if you have nations like that back in Russia, that means Russia's gonna have money to go to war. The only people that are not gonna have money to go to war are these like America. America ain't gonna have no money to go to war. 'Cause as soon as everybody starts dumping that dollar, what are they gonna use to buy shit with? What are they gonna? It's gonna take so many dollars to for them to have any type of special drawing rights, you know, in the IMF. You know, it says this is happening regardless of any justification of motive that some might say, such as a low cost of Iranian drones or the need for huge quantities that cannot be produced in such a time frame in Russian factories, not out of technological motivation or that the combat advantage of these drones. But all in all, they're still building an alliance. Whether they're supplying aid to the drones because Russia can't manufacture them fast enough, that's still, hey, no problem, bro. I got you. That's still coming to the aid. Not a financial benefit from it, but a strategic power move because Iran wants to be known as part of a superpower also. So they're going to ride on the backs of Russia to claim that right as a superpower on the earth to be able to have nuclear missile capabilities. Because Iran is going to have a stockpile of missiles before it's all over with, and they're going to use them also, and they're going to use them on Israel. And that's what Israel's concern is about. Because one of the last prophecies in the Bible is Iran and going head to head with Israel. All right. It says strategic benefits on each side. There are other strategic benefits as well. Some of them may be in the form of concession in Syria. Ex- All right, Slacky, let me start that over. It says strategic benefits on each side. It says there are other strategic benefits as well. Some of them may be in the form of concessions in Syria, expected to attract less Russian attention than before, as the Kremlin is concerned about Ukraine and its continuing aftermath. Moscow will find no better ally than Tehran to hand over its mandate in Syria. All right, this will certainly have negative consequences for the Israeli side, and indeed for the Arab side as well. It would mean that Syria is lost forever. Iran's influence is growing not only in Syria but also in Iraq and Lebanon. I'm not sure if all those people in that area are Persians, but just like all the places that Russia is naming that they want to annex. Those are all Russians. Those are all Edomites. Those are all their people. But they were after World War III in the Cold War. I mean World War II, like in the Cold War. All those countries were separated and annexed by NATO. Um, so which they choked out the power of the Soviet Union and caused them to fall back into Russia. But now they're trying to regain that power back, and they were willing to use outside forces and influences to help them get back to that Soviet Union state, which is spoken about in Ezekiel 38. You know, when the Lord said, I'll get it in a second. It says, um, back to the article. It said there is a strong possibility that Iranian support for this Houthis Houthis will increase before the end of their plan in Yemen, as the West stalls worry about the aftermath of the war in Ukraine and the energy crisis from which Western economies will emerge only after great suffering. The United States and its Atlantic allies have been relatively neutralized from their traditional sphere of influence, both by their choices and strategic mistakes, as Washington has done by and by as Washington has done, and by increasing pressure and shifting priorities as Europe has done. All right, so now they're trying to play in, like, pretty much trying to figure out, try to see where it's gonna go. Like acting like they ain't making moves, but they really making moves, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, but they pump faking, and these other nations are gonna start calling America's bluff. It says, so Iran has a valuable opportunity, or so its leaders think, to complete its regional project, especially after the regime dodged the recent popular protests. The question here is this: can Russia be as seen as supporting Iran to increase its regional influence as a response or in exchange for the latter's support in their war in Ukraine? The answer to this question is the mind of President Putin, who finds himself in a very difficult strategic position, and certainly every supporting role will have its price, especially if the situation ends up in his favor. Right, and the price is for Iran to ride on the backs of Russia off that, you know what I'm saying, off that power game that they're gonna get once they finally annex all of Ukraine and sit there and wait on the United States and Russia's next move. All right, it says, but we can empathize with the Russian president's strong relations with countries such as the UAE and Saudi Arabia will be a strong break that will give us confidence that Russia will not support Iran against the Gulf in the future. And how so? Like, because who's giving Russia aid now? Iran is. These other nations are not doing anything to help them. So why wouldn't they? Like, of course, that support that they're getting is going to come with the price. But what is that price? To help them with the. I mean, pretty much, pretty soon, these Middle Eastern countries are going to come together and to go against America and NATO anyway. All right, all right. It's not just a question of seeking a partnership with these countries, but given the scale of mutual strategic interest throughout the Gulf. All right, so now and then so that's who has the main interest throughout the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf. Who has the interest out on the most? America and NATO. They've been showing that for years with all this Gulf Wars and Operation Desert Storm and all that kind of stuff. The war in Afghanistan, and they've been doing this since like 2096 is when it really started. You know, so nobody has more interest in that area than United States and NATO, and it's obviously it's blatantly shown. You know, all right, and this is the real meat and potatoes of what the fears of Israel is really fearing is what prophecy Yahweh Shem Yahushua is bringing to pass. All right, and this has been spoken of times before, especially by the elder. Ezekiel 38:1, it says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal." All right, so that's talking about Russia, uh, Moscow, and like Eurasia area. All right, it says, and say, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. All right, so even the Lord, right, even though the Lord's raising up Russia, raising up the spirit of the Medes in Russia to take down Babylon, um, that doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying, the Lord is for them. No, the Lord is against them, man. Right? It says, Um, and say, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I am against thee, O God, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all them clothed with all types of armor. Right. So this is right. And you're witnessing an example of that with Ukraine. So ultimately, this what Israel is afraid of, not necessarily afraid of Iran, so to speak, but they do have some concerns. But it's the bigger, broader scheme of things. Because what does this do? You have um, Israel being a NATO alliance, and you have Iran non-NATO alliance, and you have Russia that are non-NATO alliance. All right, Ukraine is somewhat of alliance of NATO. Well, with that being said, it's literally um, bringing forth in Revelation 13, who can make war with the beast? All right. Just hold on. It says, I will put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen, all them clothed with all types of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So these nations are going to be fully equipped that side with Russia. All right. Now, main one is Persia. All right. Persia is Iran. All right. Persia is Iran. So this is actually prophecies, man, coming forth, man, developing right before our eyes. Like the Lord said, He'll turn back our captivity right before our eyes, man, and we're witnessing that at this time. It says, Ethiopia and Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmets. All right, so that's what we're witnessing come to pass. All right, and for it to escalate into this, I think it's 13. All right, it says, all right, Revelation 13:4. It says, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, which is NATO. All right. Well, is really talking about Rome. All right. But right this time it's talking about NATO. All right. And dragon being the European Union, Rome. You know, and America rides along with the dragon and the beast. It says, and they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like unto the beast? Like who is like unto this nation, this army?" Like it says, "Who is able to make war with him?" All right, and so part of that beast is America, because we're witnessing that. Right, it goes on to explain the establishment of America. All right, so now you're witnessing the destruction of America. Right, right before our eyes, and Yahweh Shem Yahushua is the one that's putting it together. All right, so now that's what they're witnessing. Who can make war with the beast? And that bear, which is going to be the end of the thing, which is spoken of in the beginning, um, Revelation 13:2. It says, and it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. That's the beginning of their rulership, and the feet were as the feet of a bear, and that's the end of their rulership, man. So that bear that is talking about, right? The feet of this thing is Russia. So that's the end, and it's being established and being manifested by Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. So that's a bigger picture that Israel's concern is. It's not necessarily Iran, but it's the whole grand scheme of things and what's become that prophecy of Russia rising up and destroying this place, Babylon the Great. All right, Lord willing, this lesson to edify and serve his purpose with that, like Sekah Halayim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harikak Wadash, my mouth. Double honors to the elder apostles, of great millstone, and my elder hero one as well. Salutations to the icon that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.